We've got some
Hey,
fresh new
I'm
young
Luis.
talent
And
doing some
I'm
things that I
Luis.
know you haven't
And you're
heard
listening to the
before.
Content is Profit podcast.
All right, cool episode ahead, guys. Today we are talking about The Last of Us, an HBO marketing lesson. We're gonna, guys, take out your
The
notes.
last of the BIZBROS.
Take out your notepads. If you don't know what The Last of Us is, it is a video game turned TV show by HBO. They launched January 15. That was the premiere, and it blew up. It was massive. So we're gonna be talking about some of the lessons from HBO's marketing towards the show, because they're pretty impressive, not gonna lie.
Yeah, absolutely. It's impressive. It's creative. We always talk in this industry with the companies that when they're trying to go and launch a product or a thing that they want to put out into the public, it's funny, a lot of the conversation is like, yes, we're going to be launching this next week. And we're like, you are so late. We have to be started to plan this. And, we had a few episodes with Steve Larson comes to mind, who's a great marketer as well. Hopefully, it would have been great to have P.T. Barnum on the show, but, he's dead.
Yeah.
But he has, like, his book. There's a book.
Maybe we can feed all his work to ChatGPT.
And we'll have a conversation.
And then we have a conversation through like chat with ChatGPT, and then we grab that and use an AI voice to replicate P.T. Barnum, or what it would have been P.T. Barnum's voice.
Oh.
And then we have an episode like that.
Okay, but for those don't know Peter Barnum, obviously, there's many things, but that's on a whole other episode. But he talks about campaigns and how far ahead you have to do it, and all the creative things that you can do to attract that attention, right? And what HBO has done with The Last of Us is something
big ass campaign.
It's a big campaign. And here's the thing, like, obviously we're familiar with the video game. I haven't played it. I'm not a fan of that type of video game.
Haven't played it either.
But we know of the game. But at the same time, we were not aware of all these ecosystems of campaigns that happened, and it's amazing. So FONZI is going to do a breakdown. I'm going to comment on some of it if I feel like I have smart comments, and then we go off of it.
Yeah, so before we tell you how long this campaign was, take a guess. How long do you think HBO has been marketing The Last of Us for? Right, but while we wait for the answer, here are some stats, right? So The Last of Us is HBO's second largest debut since making shows available digitally. That is pretty impressive. I think the biggest one was Broadwalk Empire, actually. Or Boardwalk? Broadwalk. I don't know. One of those. But I think it might be mistaken, and I think it's Game of Thrones too. Not gonna lie, because Game of Thrones is pretty epic. That being said, the show is based on the video game, which was launched in 2013, which sold 3.4 million copies within 3 weeks. That is pretty impressive.
That's big, yeah.
Yeah, 3.4 million copies in 3 weeks. Now, here it is. When did they start marketing this thing? HBO began teasing its new series about a year and a half before its premiere on January 15, taking a slow burn approach to feeding content to fans of the video game by the same title over time. Just for reference, the show was greenlit in November of 2020. So they greenlit the show November 2020, and then they started filming the show in, I think it was like June 2021. So I feel like in those 6-7 months, they did the whole planning. It was like they probably were sitting down in a table, kind of like this one we're sitting right now, like masterminding, and they were like, these are the things that we can do, right?
Yeah.
And again, I think this is pretty impressive. Just for reference and credit, so we don't get in trouble, we are getting a lot of this information from Ad Age, an article that we read on our Ad Age.
It's all in our heads.
It's all in our head. We knew all this just by watching the thing, right? But here it is. The strategy appears to have paid off already. Sunday's premiere drew an audience of 4.7 million across linear and streaming, according to HBO, making it the second largest debut since the network began making its content available digitally. That number grew to 10 million in 2 days. That's pretty insane. 10 million people watching the show in just 2 days. And, I went to keywords everywhere, and I was like, I'm curious, how much has the surge spiked up, for The Last of Us? I was like, is it worth riding this trend? And I guess it is worth. That's why we recorded this episode.
Well, on top of the great marketing lessons,
Of course,
wow,
leverage traffic,
cloud
right?
chaser, FONZI cloud chaser, Camejo. Okay,
Yeah, but pretty much.
another marketing lesson within that. You know,
Another
ride the
marketing
waves.
lesson.
We talked about this in the past. Okay.
That is true. That is true. So September 2022, they had a monthly search of 1.5 million searches. But what I found pretty impressive, first of all, is the value of the brand.
Yeah.
Because since the game was launched in 2013, obviously there was a big spike on 2013 when they launched. But across the rest of the years, it's insane. Like there's like every single month, there's like 500,000 searches for this game. That talks volumes about this thing. It's crazy, right? Like
Yeah.
they really have true fans. But in January 2023, it spiked up to 7.8 million searches. And I'm sure like that's an estimate from keywords everywhere, but I'm sure that number is even higher now.
Yeah, probably, and not only. I mean, obviously on the web, but probably on social media, people just organically announcing this thing. I mean, I'm personally a big fan of Harry Potter, and they're coming out with a game, so I've been all over that strategy alone, right? And obviously, this is a whole other universe in the gaming side of things. But also,
Well, fun fact: the Last of Us games actually are ranked now above the Hogwarts game, the Harry Potter game that is about to come up. Meaning, people were like, "This is awesome." They went back and bought the game
again, a game that was from a few years back. Yes, I'm gonna put this out there. Harry Potter is just in pre-sale, hasn't officially been launched. But anyways,
Salty.
Yes, 100%. But anyway, I mean, regardless, it's pretty impressive, right? But on the marketing sense, like, this speaks volumes on the obviously the true fans, right? Your real audience that's out there. So we know that the gaming industry has very fanatical people behind them, right? If you like a game, you follow that game. We have this guy that the assistant manager in the coffee shop that we went to. He loves gaming, right? He loves a game called Destiny, and that's the only thing that he plays, right? And we're like, why don't you try different games, right? I'm a gamer whore. I go through my stages and I play all the games and I don't get better at any of them. But but with David, for example, like, he likes that one game and he won't try anything else. With Last of Us, that's very similar. So look in your companies, right? Can you create an experience that is very similar? Can you create an experience where people love and adore your ecosystem, the things that you do, the products that you do, right? Gamifying the experience. Because guess what? When other opportunities come, like in this case, HBO, they come and they talk to the brand, right? And they see that it's so popular, right? And then they want to produce a show like this, then it's a perfect match, right? So start thinking about ways on how can you replicate what the gaming industry is doing inside of your own company.
So I think, because obviously HBO is not the responsible for like putting the experience within the game. Like obviously the game created its crazy fans,
Yeah.
but like HBO noticed that and they were like,
That's what
dude, there are crazy insane fans here. Let's leverage that.
Yeah, that's what I mentioned. HBO came in, they saw that, right? And then they're leveraging
they
it
conquered.
for their for the platform. Just like Game of
They
Thrones,
came,
right?
they saw, then conquer.
Yeah, just like Game of Thrones, right? They saw there was a huge fan base with the books, right? And then went and did it. Just like Universal did with Harry Potter, and now is a massive brand across the world, and the parks and the things which is there.
Yeah. So here, before we dive into like some of that strategy that HBO commented about for marketing the show, here's some of the results. Well, of course, all the like 4.7 million streams on day 1, 10 million on day 2. Also, it increased by 69% in the US alone the downloads of the HBO Max app. That is pretty crazy, and it pushed the app to number 4 in the iPhone App Store, which I think is pretty insane, because now you got millions of Apple users that are logging into their App Store on a daily basis, and the app is right there. So that one is not necessarily sharing about The Last of Us, but at the end of the day, it's HBO as a company, and it's probably just lifting the awareness there.
We talk about this concept of safety net content on your social content, right? Like consistent publishing every single day in whatever platform that you're present, because when people find you, there's going to be other stuff, right? So obviously, this is a massive campaign, like on its own, for The Last of Us, the show, but at the same time, it's also a massive campaign for the platform as a whole, right? Because now you can tell like Netflix is competing, right? HBO is competing. You have like all this, Disney Plus is competing, and they all have an inventory of content inside of those apps, right? And it's no different than the content that you or your company might be publishing in these other social platforms, right? And they're competing for the attention of the consumer, right? So when HBO brings in people that really like The Last of Us, they introduce them to their platform, right? Then they can serve them content that also maybe it's a fit for them. So obviously there might be a percentage of those people that might cancel the service, which is okay, right? But at the same time, they attracted a ton of new people that are coming in, right? For example, Disney, when they launched Disney Plus with The Mandalorian, all the Star Wars things, you know, they bought The Simpsons, right? They're getting all these properties to make sure that people stay in their platform. So again, bringing it back to you as a company or you as a creator, you as an attractive character, how can you leverage the fact that you have the safety net content that you're creating, but also how can you leverage new content for people to discover you based on these waves? By the way, what we're doing today, talking about The Last of Us, is a great example of this, right? People are going to find this episode just because of that title and the topic that we're talking about. And if it's a match because they love content, they love marketing, they love what we talk about, and they like us as attractive characters, hopefully, they're gonna stay. So if you are new to the podcast, welcome. Anyways, okay.
Yeah.
End of my commentary.
Yeah. That's it's pretty interesting. I actually had a pretty what I thought was a pretty smart comment, but you talked for so long that I forgot about it. So here it goes. To kick off the campaign of the show, HBO partner with the game developers, and they dropped their first look in The Last of Us Day in 2021. So like the game, they actually have a day for the day for the game, and they celebrated around somewhere around September. And in 2021, HBO partnered with them, and that's when they released like the first teaser. And I think it was a picture. Like I looked online, and it was just a picture. And supposedly the answer from the crowd was like absolutely amazing. That they were like, oh, okay, well, let's keep, kind of like listening to what the audience have to say. And there's like a few things that I want to share in here, but I'm gonna share first. There's like an excerpt of the article that I really want to read, but before that, I'm gonna comment on that the HBO team continued to drop teasers of the show over the following year, including other images and a partnership with PlayStation, which is where the game is at. And that's when they released the first trailer. So, and that was on the Last of Us Day from 2022. So a year later is when they released the first trailer of this, which I think is crazy. So they started teasing in 2021, and then a year later is when they first released that official trailer. And it gained 57 million organic views in the first 72 hours, which according to HBO is the most watched promo in the network's history.
Right after Content is Profit.
Right after Content is Profit, yeah. So, I mean, first of all, I think it's insane. Obviously, the amount of shares, right, that people, like the fans of this game probably, were sharing. But I think it talks also to the ability of HBO to listen to the audience and craft something that these hardcore fans are very excited about, right? Yeah. And one of the things I read is that people are saying like this is one of the most accurate live action series to like ever be made. And I know it's just starting, right? But that is what's being said, because a lot of fans, like Sonic the Hedgehog, for example, right? Like that's a great example. When they released the movie, Sonic was like a monster, bro. Like it was horrible, right?
By the way, conspiracy theories, they say that was definitely on purpose. That was done on purpose to attract the attention and attract the conversation, because search went went way up.
It would be super smart.
They re-released like the good version of Sonic.
It'll be very smart, honestly. But again, we can all agree that it was a monster, ugly looking Sonic.
It had teeth.
And so like you could say, well, they didn't stick to the script of the game, and then whatever, there was like a massive people complaining online, and then they ended up like
it just looked bad
and changing it, right? But these guys went on listening to the audience and trying to stick to the script of the game and everything and make it as, you know, as real as possible in comparison to the game.
Yeah, I think the focus there from that company, right? And you're gonna read the excerpt. Hopefully, you read it well, but no pressure, Fonzie.
No pressure.
But I think they focus really on the experience for the fans, for the people that love that content, right? And at the end of the day, when you're creating something, you have to listen to that feedback. We share often that we didn't look at data from the podcast for the first 9 months. And the reason we did that initially was because we didn't want that to affect the creation process, right? We wanted to conquer consistency. But once we did that, once we built the habit, once we built the systems to actually be consistent as a creator, we went back and we started listening to what are people doing. They kept asking, we want solo episodes. This is what we're doing, something like this, right? We want this type of interviews, right? We want a little bit more organic. We don't want to hear about the backstories of the people that come to the show, right? We believe it. Like, let's go to the nitty gritty, right? So with that kind of feedback, then we started creating the experience for you. And this is what, you know, this HBO and The Last of Us are really focusing on, is in listening to the feedback from
the fans,
from what they love, because they're going to be the ones that are going to be driving the campaign like it's happening right now. So I encourage you, again, go back and look. What's the feedback that you're getting from your products, your service? Are you actually listening to your customers, right? Are you actually listening to the people that listen to your show? And there's a balance, right? From what you're willing to create, right, to stay consistent, and what the people are telling you to do. And I think there's like a very sweet spot that varies and that's different depending on what type of content you create. But you hear often YouTubers that are in this wheel of content creation because they want to satisfy the crazy viewers on YouTube, right? But then they get burned out, right? And there's an episode that we have on deck that we want to talk about the podcaster burnout versus the YouTuber burnout. And it happens that the podcaster burnout is almost non-existent, right? Because of the way that they create. So again, be careful with that balance, but there's also keep an eye on something like this because it can be very useful for your people and for your company.
I remember what I thought it was a smart comment from like 5 minutes ago.
You still think it was a smart comment? Are you gonna say it?
I think it's a smart comment. What I wanted to say when you were talking about, you know, Disney and all these people kind of like buying these different shows and leveraging the fan base, was about the importance of having your own IP, right? Your own intellectual property. Like that is what these like media companies have. Like obviously, you know, Marvel with its superheroes, those are their IP, and then they grow their fan base. And Disney, what is buying in a sense is the fan base. Like you can say, yeah, sure, you're buying Marvel and its characters, but what Disney wants is the fans that come with audience. All of that, right? Like they want the audience. Is like a lot of the times when a business buys another business, yes, of course they want to maybe increase their product suite, but in a way they want to purchase those people customers, right? A good example was Skype. Skype had like millions of users when they got bought, but you know, like they were kind of like the only solution. And they actually were bought. I don't remember the exact price now, but it was a whole lot of money. And mainly it was because of the database of users that they had. Because Microsoft could have easily built another Skype, but then they have to go out there and acquire customers, you know, which obviously comes at a cost. So they decided, why don't we just buy Skype for a whole bunch of money? Yeah. And we have all the clients, and right?
It's way cheaper as people are already indoctrinated, right? And to bring it on the content side of things.
Wait. Before you bring it.
That was actually really smart. No, I want to bring it.
I haven't finished my smart comment.
But this is a smart comment within your smart comment.
No, but then I'm going to forget
Write it down
the
in
rest of the... No.
In your paper notebook.
Right, so just to wrap the smart comment up. Hopefully it's smart for you. Let me know. If you're listening, let me know if it's smart or not. But for that is, make sure you're developing your own IP within your business, right? So for example, we have like our publishing platform, right? The pipeline platforms, and we create these frameworks and we wrap them around this IP.
Publishing pyramid.
That's the first one I said.
No.
What did I say?
Pipeline platforms.
No, but before that I said publishing pyramid.
You said it twice.
You're not listening to me.
No, you said it twice.
The point is, make sure you
rewind it.
Make sure you're also creating your IP so it increases the value of your company. All right, go with your subsequent smart comment.
Find it in the transcript. You said it twice. Anyways.
No, I said publishing pyramid, bro.
Okay. No, what I was going to say is like, okay, this company is buying like the audiences, right? So how can you implement this on social? You can go ahead and find pages, or whether it's an Instagram or a TikTok or influencers around your topic, Facebook groups, right? Communities that are already talking about your platform. If you are not building it from scratch, right? If you don't want to do that, there's ways that you can actually go ahead and be part of a community like that. So what are the topics that you talk about? What are the things, what are the products that you have? Who is the people that you serve? Who's the market, right? You can actually go ahead and purchase these properties, right? And it hopefully, do your research, make sure that these are actually engaged customers, engaged audience, engaged people, right? They're not just like fake bots. But you can also go purchase a community like this. In fact, a few months ago, there's a project that we really want to put out there in the world of soccer. And I was doing some research on soccer pages on social and soccer groups and communities, right? And I came across several communities that have a ton of people in their Facebook groups. And it was just put on hold, just our own personal capacity to go execute. But I remember doing this research. I'm like, wow, how long does this person, it took this person or this organization to build, 100,000 people Facebook group, but that Facebook group might not be active anymore, right? But there's a ton of people in there that, by reigniting that, you could potentially reignite that audience under one specific topic. So can you actually go out and find these things and leverage them into your own marketing strategy? By the way, I have to wrap up. I hear the kids in the back.
One
They're going
second.
crazy.
I'm just going to say, this script transcript do not understand a single word of what we're saying, bro. Like, I started reading, I'm like, I do not understand anything that's written in there. But that being said, make sure you check out this script because it's pretty awesome. Is this script sponsor
us? Yeah.
Now I'm gonna leave I'm gonna read the excerpt, and then cool, we can wrap it up. Pretty much from the article at Age, it says, we called it the breadcrumb content, said the HBO's VP of Program Marketing, who defined the term as slowly giving the fans little pieces of breadcrumbs to show that we're going to stay faithful to the source material, but with the premium quality of HBO. They added that you don't have to start right out of the gate with everything, especially for video games, and I think this is just my mantra in general. You have to always be listening to the data and the audiences and the insights. We were really fortunate to start a year out and be able to map content and experiences to specific audiences and make sure it spoke to them to make sure these things lands. For example, when initially planning the Last of Us campaign, HBO expected to have the launch explainer post, letters of endorsement from the game's creators, and side-by-side images of the show and game to prove its fidelity. But those elements were called off when they saw the fandom rallying around content and shepherding new fans into the community. We just let the fans do their thing and saw that behavior. We don't really need to create all this game-to-screen content because the fans are doing it for us. So
that's right.
Another lesson, how can you create UGC content, right? User-generated content. How can you get the people around those communities that you're tapping into to get excited and share about it with you? I think from our own experience, something that we've done with that pretty good was when we did the 45 Live, right? We rally a group of people, about 100 people that wanted to post, right? We were all rallying behind the same mission. And every single time they posted their content, every single day for 45 days in a row, they were mentioning the 45 Live challenge from the BIZBROS. Right. So again, how can you rally those communities to, spread the voice about you?
Yeah. Same thing, right? Like, for example, the Kings League, the soccer league, every single player that's there, they had to go through an application process. And part of the thing that they saw was, do they actually have some kind of an audience or following? Because they're going to be documenting the whole experience as a user, right, of the product, which is the league, playing soccer, but they're also going to advertise in their individual channels. That's what YouTubers leverage when they collaborate. So think of ways of how can you actually do that with your community.
Yeah, I'm just going to throw this out there. The part where we talk about Kings League is probably, that was before we started recording. So people might be asking themselves, what is the Kings League? Don't worry about it because we are going to come back with another episode talking about the Kings League.
Just leave it.
Yeah, I'm gonna leave.
You left it.
No,
you left the beginning.
What I'm saying is the beginning.
You left the beginning.
We'll see. We'll see. I edit this thing, so the power is in my hands.
Leave the beginning.
But if by any chance you got here and you're like, what is a Kings Leagues? I have no idea. We're gonna be covering in an episode pretty soon because it's a pretty awesome case study about marketing as well.
Yeah, you also already listened to it because it was left at the beginning.
We'll see because I'm the editor and I make the last choice.
All right, that's the episode, guys. Thank you so much for tuning into the Contents Profit Podcast. Go ahead and follow the show in your favorite podcasting platform and on social media at BIZBROS Co.
That is right, guys. And if you are left wondering why I wanted a recap about this episode, I want to learn more. Well, guys, reach out in social media and I got your back. Love you. Leave a 5-star review.
Bye, guys.
See ya.